Hello, my fellow Hulk fans. It's Jerry Rasco with you. And yes, we are going to be looking at another issue of Tales to Astonish, featuring the ongoing story of the Incredible Hulk. This one is really cool. Again, we have a new contributor to the art team to look at, which is super exciting. So we'll be able to do that. There's some very interesting stuff here going on with the Hulk, with the story and the plot. So that's really cool too. So this is going to be a really fun one, and I'm very much looking forward to going through this issue with you. In the meantime, of course, I want to thank everybody who's been subscribing to the channel. We're making incredible strides towards our 1,000 subscriber goal, and that is, of course, all thanks to you. So thank you all so much for clicking that subscribe button. It helps out the channel and means the world to me. If you're new here and you have not clicked that subscribe button, let me give you a little incentive on why you might want to do that. I am going to choose 6 random subscribers when we hit that 1,000 subscriber mark. And each of those subscribers that I pick at random are going to win one of the following pieces of original artwork that I've created to celebrate all these review series that we have here on the channel. So let me show you what you have a chance to win if you click that subscribe button. First, we have the Incredible Hulk. We have the Amazing Spider-Man. We have the X-Men. We have the Avengers. We have Captain America. And the last series still to come out, but will be coming very soon, the Fantastic Four. So one of these pieces could be yours for free, completely free. No purchase necessary, no cost to anybody, even the shipping will be free. So go ahead, click that subscribe button today if you haven't already. And again, thank you everybody for all of your awesome support. With that out of the way, let's jump over to the comic and let's check this one out. Okay, so here we have the cover to Tales to Astonish number 78, and we are still in this alternating cover not motif isn't the right word, but alternating cover plan where one month it's Submariner, the next month it's the Incredible Hulk. So the previous month was the Hulk, now we are back to Submariner. So we're not going to spend a lot of time here on the cover because this is not what we're here for. This is not a Submariner stream, this is a Hulk one. So we're going to cut ahead to the actual Hulk story. So as I always mention at this point, this is a scanned PDF copy of this book. It is exactly as it was in 1966 when it was published. So we'll see all the old ads, we'll see the page turns, the coloring techniques, everything. So I love this format. It is as close to having that original book in our hands as we can get. And with something that's 60 years old, that's not hard to do that's not easy to do anymore. So it's a really great opportunity for us to look at a lot of these really old comics and check them out. So let's talk very quickly here about the creative team because we have a change. So story is still by Stan Lee and the layouts are still by Jack Kirby. So we have that Jack Kirby through line of his storytelling style, which is, you can see here on the right-hand page, 6 panels, lots of small panels, a lot of the design work. When we zoom in for a close-up versus when we have a long shot. These are all things that Jack would have determined based on the plot of the story. So he would have broken it out into these 13 pages that we'll be looking at. And then the artist who came in behind with pencil and ink to draw all the details and finish the art is artist Bill Everett. So we have not seen Bill Everett on this channel before, so let's talk a little bit about Bill Everett and who he is. If you're a comics fan, you know the name. Again, this is a guy that goes into golden age storytelling, and of course, here in the Silver Age, a true icon of the industry. So Bill Everett was the creator of Submariner, aka Namor, in 1939. So ironically, in a book that features a Submariner story, he's not the one drawing the Submariner story. Here he is drawing the Incredible Hulk. So I thought that was kind of ironic, right? But that was his first claim to fame, and he worked on Submariner and Namor for a really long time. Then, as he got into, as well at that golden age of time, he also worked on the Human Torch, not the Johnny Storm Fantastic Four Human Torch, but the original. Marvel Mystery was another book that he worked on, and The Blonde Phantom. So again, a lot of golden age story and a lot of golden age work at that time. Later, coming back to Marvel, he co-created Daredevil, which was a really big deal. Obviously, one of the Marvel mainstays, so that's an incredible feat in and of itself. He worked here on the Hulk, as we see, and also worked on Doctor Strange, as well as Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos. So a nice wide stretch of work from Bill Everett, featuring all kinds of really iconic Marvel characters and really making an imprint on all those books. Unfortunately, Bill Everett did die in 1973 in his 50s. So unfortunately, another artist gone way too soon. But we get to look at his artwork here and enjoy what he was able to bring to the medium. So, quick story recap. The Hulk had been sent into the 25th century by a weapon of Bruce Banner's design, ironically enough. And eventually, whatever those effects are, however that worked, excuse me, the Hulk simply returns to his own time amongst this whirling, swirling wind dervish back in the cave where he and Rick Jones had a base before it was destroyed. Right before this, however, Rick Jones has spoiled the secret. He has revealed to Glenn Talbot that the Hulk and Bruce Banner were the same person, because everybody assumes the two are dead, of course, which they are not. So, how is that going to affect everybody? What are the repercussions of that secret being leaked? That's what we're here to see. So, we jump right in with this splash page, which is cool. It ended the last issue with the sort of whirlwind starting, and then boom, the Hulk appears. This is just really, really cool. I love the swirling debris all around. It's done really nicely. The Hulk, the face is awesome. It is a really, really good face. It's got all the hallmarks of what I want to see in a more monstrous Hulk, with the features being really dramatically different. You've got real heavy, large eyebrows, the kind of flattened head, the very long distance between the bottom of the nose and that upper lip really helps solidify that monstrous look. And we're really dialing into what we would consider sort of the iconic Hulk look, and we're going to be getting there real soon. Yeah, so really cool stuff here. The ab muscles are a little weird. So you can see he's got his the chest and his pectoral muscles, and then underneath you would have that slight bottom of the rib cage curve, and then you have your abdominal muscles, and there's kind of spread really far apart. Obviously, your abdominal muscles would be more to the center, so I don't know why that is. And we do see it on the next page as well. It's sort of a little chunky out here. So sometimes the anatomy gets a little weird, but to be honest with you, I'm willing to overlook it a lot because the style and the technique that we're using is so good. It's a little on the, we'll call it cartoony side, but if you think about this is 1966. This is years before. I'm going to drop some names. If you know comic history and art, you know these will all be recognizable. If you don't know, this is the chain of evolution that leads to these people. So from here, you would get to an artist like Michael Golden. From Michael Golden begets Art Adams. And from Art Adams, you get people like J. Scott Campbell. You get people like Rob Liefeld. You get people like most of the Image artists in the 90s. So, you know, when you think about something like this and you go, well, it's a little cartoony, compared to maybe your classic John Romita's, John Buscema's, you know, certainly Jack Kirby to a degree, yes, but this style of sort of a almost animation-y based or cartoon-based style has carried through, obviously, for decades. And again, so if you talk to any of the people that worked at, you know, Image Comics in the 90s, so many of them, when you ask what their influences are, the first one they go to is Art Adams. And who influenced Art Adams? Michael Golden. Who influenced Michael Golden? Bill Everett, right? So we see the history there, which is awesome. It's so cool. And you can see some of the trademarks of all those artists, which is phenomenal. I did make just a general note that I'll continue to harp on throughout this episode, but it's so good. The backgrounds here are so lush and really well drawn. And most importantly, everything, different materials and different things are rendered differently with different textures. So right off the bat, you have like this metal debris in chunks, but you also have rock and stone and dirt blowing around. We see the cave that he's in, and everything is rendered a little differently. The shadows on the rock walls are not the same as the shadows on the Hulk's face, etc. And that is great. It helps sell everything as different things, not just different colors of the same stuff. So that's really important, and it's done extremely well. We have great lighting in terms of the heavy shadows, but not so much that you can't make out what's going on. So it's reached a really nice balance point there. So this stuff is all really good. Now, there's some stuff that's a little wacky, right? So I mentioned like some of his anatomy. If you look at the forearms here, they're a little lumpy, and he's got these like balled up muscles way at the end of the forearm, whereas it's about halfway through. So some of the musculature doesn't always make sense, but again, I'm willing to overlook it because it's adding a really cool style and something that my eyes are spending a lot of time looking at all the detail. So it's not just a fun story, but it's a visual treat for my eyes. Great upshot here of the Hulk face. We've seen it a lot where people have messed this up. Upshots are difficult to do. That angle is hard, and then you have a face that's distorted with its unusual proportions, but this is done very, very well. Here we have this guy with the binoculars, and I might argue that this guy, like, if those binoculars are lined up on his eyes, his left eye is about how far is that? Half an inch to an inch lower than his right eye. So I'd hate to see what this guy looks like once he pulls those binoculars away. But again, the detail is great, right? You have the lenses with the little reflection. You've got the dial here because they're hinged to adjust to your face. I mean, that's attention to detail on something that's really small, but does a great job. And here's the thing I put in my notes. Look at the watch band. So this guy has a watch band. You can tell it's a metal watch. It's one of those that kind of stretches. Very common for military. Makes a lot of sense there. It's just done. Now, does a guy have to wear a watch? No. But does it make sense? Do people wear watches? Sure. It's a little detail that probably doesn't take you that long to draw, but really sets us as a real person in a real space. And even though, let's say the hand details of the roundness and kind of bloopiness of the thumb, or the outlines of the face are, again, a little cartoony, but it's all centered in reality of, the guy's got a watch band, and it's the right watch band. The binoculars look right. All that stuff really does play up and help sell the cartooniness. So yeah, it's just really great. We meet a new scientist who has come to the base where, in this case, it's Major Talbot and General Ross are kind of running the show. And this guy is Dr. Zaxxon, and he just absolutely looks like a jerk, kind of comes off that way. He, of course, is going to put Dr. Banner to shame because he's taken over as sort of lead scientist on this base, and he has his own ideas. As opposed to gamma radiation, he has a different concept. But just the trench coat with the big floppy collar, the fact that he's lighting his pipe while and his sunglasses, he doesn't take his sunglasses off to talk to Major Talbot, just comes across as sort of a jerk. But again, really great character design and very fun. The Jeep here drawn very nicely. Cars can be difficult, and today's world we have tons of reference material. You can Google, Army Jeep, find a picture, draw it. It's not too hard. Back then, certainly more different. And again, great stuff. The Jeep is rendered, all the little line work on the shading and stuff, instead of it being as soft and organic as, the rocks here, it's fine straight lines because it's a manufactured metal machine. So that works perfectly. So excellent stuff there. We see the Hulk jumping along in terrific direction, right? He's going from left to right. That's very important. We want our motion for our comic mostly going left to right as much as possible. That's gives us forward motion, forward momentum for the story, and is how we as Western readers read. And it takes us right to the page turn, which is excellent. And this is a nice turn off the page turn, right? He's just kind of leaping around, and then we turn the page and boom, it's an attack. So the military is after him. They are going to bring him down. And so artillery fire is enough that the Hulk is going to find those guns and destroy him, and he goes to land and boop, right in a covered, disguised hole in the ground, and then they gas on top of him. Again, cool sequence. It's not overly complicated. I mean, if you think about it, some hands, some feet. So those panels pretty quick. This one with a big, from a distance. I'm not a big fan of the cutaway. I'm assuming that there is the hole in the ground is, we see here is 4 walls. So this is a cutaway to show how deep it is. Not my favorite angle, but I know that that's something that Jack Kirby would have used a lot. So you can tell that's part of his storytelling language. There are other ways to do it. I'd rather have the Hulk either looking up out of it or looking down into the hole, as opposed to the cutaway. But again, not a crazy panel to draw there, so that's all really good. He tries to escape the gas, but it's already weakened him a bunch. And great body language. Again, this is when you have characters that are a little more soft, a little more, again, I keep using the term cartoony, but think like plastic or whatever you want to think, whatever term you want to use. These characters are moving in space. They're not so stiff and rigid and a move and a punch. These characters, like the bend in his spine as he's leaning over trying to climb out of this hole only to fall into another one, right? They've created this almost like checkerboard of holes. So no matter where he goes, he's going to fall into the next one and the next one. And then they're going to keep putting gas in there to keep him subdued. So it's a great approach to how to trap the Hulk. Again, all this background is so nice. All the texture on this dirt is different than the line work being used on the, the musculature and the shading of the Hulk. The gas is a different line weight and line usage versus, again, that ground texture. So really, really nice. It's really good. And now here, this is a great thing too. I didn't even note it in my notes. I was just going over so fast. I was busy looking at everything. This is an awesome thematic change, and we don't see that as an example very often. I've talked to you a lot about how to change scenes. You have your page turn. You have your visual change, your visual scene change. So meaning if you see the Hulk in one image and then you see somebody in the same pose in the next scene, that's a good way to do it. Here we have a thematic one, which is Major Talbot is saying, I've got to break the news to Betty and Jones. And boom, we cut to Betty and Rick Jones, and they're talking about the secret of Bruce Banner being the Hulk. And so that's the thematic way to move scenes in the same page, and it's done perfectly. That is exactly what we want to do. I did note here that excuse me, Betty Ross looks more like Betsy Ross with this gray hair, and I don't know what this coloring choice is to give her. I'm assuming they meant it to be sort of a brownish color, but it looks gray, which and especially in this particular image as she is talking to Rick Jones, and you see now, understand she's upset, so we have these dark lines under her eyes, but the whole image makes the lines on her face make her look a little older. She's supposed to be very young, and instead, combined with the gray hair, you put it all together, and my joke, bad joke, is that instead of Betty Ross, she looks like Betsy Ross. I will say this as well, another general note that I had, and we'll see a good example of it later. Every face is different. So when you look at not just obviously the Hulk's face, but you look at Rick Jones's face, you look at Dr. Zaxxon's face, we're going to see some other soldiers' faces. Every face is slightly different. Like this guy up above, this guy's been here. Let's zoom into this guy. This guy's awesome. This dude's seen some stuff, right? He's got his chin strap undone. He's got his hands down his waist. He's like, yeah, we're cool. He's seen some stuff. But that face is totally different than Major Talbot or Rick Jones or anybody. So that's an excellent visual technique, and something that not enough artists do, in my opinion. A lot of people have go-tos. I got my go-to female face, I got my go-to male face, I got my go-to child face, etc., etc. Making different people look different is important. This image here of, again, looking up out of the hole that the Hulk is in, this pit with the gas, and seeing his back, how big, broad he is, and then looking up at these soldiers who really want no part of it, I think is pretty cool. That's a nice job there. If you think about it the other way, could you do it the other way with the guys crowded around the front and seeing the Hulk? I think this, because the Hulk is in the foreground, makes him bigger, more intimidating, more monstrous. I think that's pretty good. Again, here, listen, like I said, some of the anatomy is a little wonky. This back musculature is really nice. And back muscles are something that a lot of people struggle with because you don't see it a lot. You can't look at your own back and look at the muscles and know, how it's all put together. You can look at reference of bodybuilders, athletes, stuff like that. But again, in 1966, it's a lot harder to come by than it is today. So overall, it's done pretty well. This figure of the Hulk leaping out of the hole, trying to escape, he's starting to look a little melty. It's one of those where he almost looks flabby. And so, again, sometimes the anatomy gets away from him a little bit, but overall, really, really nice stuff. And then boom, he hits. So they're using antimatter, which again doesn't make sense scientifically, but that's neither here nor there. We're going to go with it as something that could hold the Hulk, because very, very few things could hold the Hulk. And here's what I was talking about. All these guys, these soldiers here, very different. You got the guy who looks like he is the fresh-faced kid out of basic, and then this dude here, and everybody looks different. So that's great. Dr. Zaxxon arrives, and he realizes the Hulk has basically unlimited power, and he wants to, well, we'll see. Oops. We'll see what happens in a second over here. But, yeah, it's great. Rick Jones looking in. He had thought both Hulk and Banner were dead, of course, and to realize that he's not is cool, but really puts Rick in a tough position because he's revealed his secret. And we see, as the Hulk sees Betty, he is happy for a second, and then we get this transition to the rage. The rage will not be held back by, anybody. And this is a great transition. Really nice face there. I think it's awesome. I really, really like it. And then the last one here, you've got the Hulk hand in the foreground, framing this characters in silhouette, talking about him as if he's not there, right? So that's really, really good. The hand is a little over-rendered, to be honest. It looks ancient, right? So that's one of the things you have to be careful of when you are drawing your hands on your characters, unless your character is quite old. The more shading and rendering that you put on it, it starts to no longer look like shadow, but just looks like wrinkles. And we all associate wrinkly hands with age. So that is something that you'd want to try to avoid if you can. You want to find that nice balance point between shading and over-rendering. Again, great kind of, again, almost caricature-esque face, right? I hope nobody has a head that goes like this, shaped that way. It's pretty crazy, but works as a character. And, so that's, again, what I'm talking about when I say cartoony. It's again, almost caricature-esque, over emphasizing certain things, like, again, the top of the head and the size of his head compared to, his bigger chin, that sort of stuff. But it's great. But this guy is crazy. He wants to absorb all the power from the Hulk and use it himself to do all kinds of nutty stuff, like control the weather, control the tectonic plates of the earth, create giant like psychedelic visions to entrap people, and thinks he's going to be this grand literal king, like absolute cuckoo nut job guy. So he dons this protective suit because he's going to use this tool to try to absorb the Hulk's power. I love the perspective on the gun, both in panel 2 and panel 4. That is great. So anytime you have that opportunity, it's really powerful. People, to have that coming at you with the right kind of perspective is something that people really react to. So that's a good image there. I like this one too, where he's shutting off the security stuff. Subtle, right? So we've all seen this at some point or another. There's a handle and it has that sort of rubber grip to it with the ridges. Like you can almost feel the texture of that handle as he's pushing it forward to turn off the protective barrier over the pit. Like it's really, really great. The shininess and the rendering on the suit is done extremely well also. So we've seen rocks, and you can see the difference, right? There's all this ground is real chunky and sort of blobby shadows and stuff. And then we have these nice, sleek streaks of shadow playing off where the light is hitting the metal suit. I mean, it's awesome. And then the Hulk, I like this sequence of the Hulk realizing once the barrier is broken, you get those hands coming up and then pulling himself up and then getting blasted by whatever this weapon is that Dr. Zaxxon has, which we'll find out next issue. My only problem I have here is because you've lined up sort of the top teeth with the ground level, it looks like he's biting the ground as he's getting out. So I would have maybe shortened up those top teeth, maybe had him under the lip and then show the open mouth. Maybe have his mouth open a little bit, so it doesn't look like he's biting down onto the ground. Minor stuff, but overall, great. I mean, look how fast we went through this because it's so cool. It's so good. There's so much neat stuff in here to look at. Again, I found myself as I was going through this just picking panels and just looking at it and going, oh, that's so good. Like all the little pine branches. I mean, you think about it, they're in the desert. So you're not going to have big leafy tree branches to cover holes in the ground. They use, scrubby pine branches. Very small detail, but really great stuff. It's so nice and starts off with this great splash. So there we go. There's the end of the comic. And I know it was a fast one, but man, that is good. So let's cut over the desk and we'll wrap it up. So there we go. I mean, very little negative to say about this. You could talk about things like, Dr. Zaxxon's goofy plot. You could talk about some of the anatomy, gets away from Bill Everett a little bit here and there for sure. But I mean, overall, what an incredible difference from sort of the art style that we had been seeing recently. And this is just awesome. I love it. I mean, I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. I'd give it a higher score if there was more action involved. But we see the Hulk kind of captured right away, so there's not a lot of action. But, I mean, it's great. There's so much cool stuff to learn here. Even if you don't want to work yourself in what I keep referring to as cartoony style, you can learn a lot from this about, like I mentioned, the small details, like the guy's watch band, the making all your faces different, the expressions in those faces. Some of these have the Hulk expressions alone are worth studying. So really great stuff there. Highly recommend checking out this issue. If you're an artist and you're trying to learn the craft, go back through this video, pause it, look at those images again in depth. There's some really good stuff to study there. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. How do you feel about Bill Everett? Were you familiar with him and his Submariner work? How does this compare? How do you like him on the Hulk? I think it's great. And I want to hear your thoughts as well. And of course, I'll leave you with the last thing. Don't forget to subscribe, help out the channel, get yourself registered to possibly win some free artwork, and join me right here next week, same time with even more incredible Hulk. Thanks.